Hi guys, hope you're well. Welcome to DOdaily, Thursday Thoughts. It's Des here, live of course, ready to answer your questions. Really looking forward to another episode of that. Got some decent questions coming up. Just let you know how I'm feeling today. To be honest, I'm not actually feeling that great. Don't know why. I feel like I've got a bit of a bug since last night. Managed to get my activity in yesterday. Got a good walk in, but when it came to running, really didn't feel like it, and then sort of developed some bug-like symptoms. But I got out there, took it really easy. It was important. Whilst I'm wanting to complete the challenge of running every day during lockdown, it was really important for me to really drop the pace, take it easy, and look after myself a little bit. And I definitely did that. Really took it back. So, not feeling great today. Feeling a bit under the weather. Been really tired today. Really struggled. Slept this afternoon quite a lot, which is unusual for me. I'm not the best sleeper in the world. I've spoken about that many times. But other than that, doing okay. Pretty good week. Lots of positive things. Been really busy. So a little bit inconvenient, but like I said, I've got to sort of just take that little bit of care. Whether I'm going to get out for that one today is a bit questionable. I'm not going to take any chances, but I'd like to see the challenge through. Like to get through to the end of the month, and of course, I'd like to get out for some fresh air, and hopefully that can help. So it's important for me to just weigh up the situation, see what's what. Hopefully you're having a great week. Again, been able to sort of discuss lots of different things. Yesterday, I'll let you know how I felt things was getting on. Thank you for the feedback on that. Really enjoyed that. Really good to know what people thought. Although I wasn't looking for a response in particular, I was just letting people know that I felt great doing DOdaily, getting out there. I watched one or two this morning whilst I was in bed, resting up. I watched one or two of the first videos, just random ones, and I could actually see the improvement. So again, that was a little bit of a confidence booster as well. Being live at the start was really difficult, getting even more tongue-tied than I do at the moment. But it's just interesting to watch, interesting to see, and of course it's an ongoing project. It's something I'm looking to work at. I'm always watching things to try and learn. But to just reiterate, it's done so much for me in terms of getting me through the situation. Again, of course, we've had the announcements today on the tier structure of lockdown. And whilst in this past week or so, I have felt it, I won't deny that. I think I've been really positive throughout the situation. And when difficult things have been thrown at myself and me and Kay as a couple, it's we've been able to deal with them by just being a bit resilient, just by powering forward, not letting the situation get to us. Just feeling it, like I say, over the last week or so, just feeling it. I guess I was just thinking there, a winter lockdown is so much tougher than a summer one. I'm really missing the people around me, missing friends. Got a question about that, so I'll come back to that shortly. But it's just those things, not getting a chance as much to meet outdoors and things like that, and is in the same amount of numbers, although that will be sort of reverting back with Nottingham going back to tier 3 lockdown rather than the national lockdown. So hopefully I get a chance to do that. And that kind of leads me into the first question. The first question was from Kay after a conversation we had after watching the briefing just now. It's much more important to watch this one, isn't it? This is much more personable, much more, you can get involved as well, So turn that off and get involved in this if you haven't already. But anyway, question one, I'll just pop that up for you. What will you do in tier 3 that you weren't able to do in lockdown? Like I say, that come from Kay. Oh, the first thing that sort of springs to mind, and I've just mentioned it, they're missing people, missing friends. People whilst I have still been meeting people on a one-to-one basis, and keeping the distance as we're supposed to, keeping within the restrictions, that's been few and far between. We've all got to work behind each other's schedule, and people have got to be available. So whilst I can normally get 1 or 2 free max of sort of dual runs in, or some sort of activity walking together, I'm really looking forward to the fact that we'll be able to meet up to 6 people again. Of course, it's really important to stay within the restrictions, stay within the rules, and the guidance. There is still a problem out there. This is why we're in tier 3. But it would just be nice to sort of have that mix, that whilst I'm not going to go ahead and sort of create sort of official running activity, what I will do is arrange to meet people. And it's always great in a group. You can bounce off people. You can discuss things. You can mix slightly. Again, keeping the distance. I'll keep reiterating that. But it's just nice to be able to do. The difficulties, I guess, come in the fact that it is winter, and people are busy and they've got other things to do. But hopefully, the biggest thing for me, the biggest change from coming out of lockdown will be the fact I can just get out there, with other people. I've spent a lot of time sort of doing my activity, and I've done lots of activity. I've done lots on my own, and I think that's one of the factors that just getting to me a little bit. Whilst I love a lot of time, I love being in my own company and enjoying activity in that way, being able to do all the things I tend to do, make telephone calls, watch videos, listen to music and podcasts and things like that. I think one of the things that is getting to me is that sort of lack of interaction. This sometimes, and being with Kay is my only interaction. So whilst it's fantastic, nothing beats being in a group and being part of the great community we've got. So that's definitely the thing I'm looking forward to, and the ability to see family again, even if it is just in the park. That's really important. At the moment, we can't see anybody, so it's definitely important for me to be able to see people when I'm not necessarily doing activity. The people who we're missing the most, and that's basically the 2 things I'm really looking forward to. Okay, thanks for the question. Kind of following on from that a little bit as well, Davna asked, what are you most looking forward to come Easter should the situation dramatically improve? I mentioned on Tuesday that whilst I don't agree with everything that's being said at the moment, one thing the Prime Minister did say was hopefully by Easter then the situation will have improved, and there's the possibility, without sort of building my hopes up too much, building our hopes up in general, there's a possibility that all restrictions might be lifted at some point. There's the vaccine sort of developing day by day, and the thought of what's going to happen with those. So it did give me a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Again, quite black and white. I like to know what I can do and what I can't do. It's the confusion that gets to me sometimes. So not sort of an open-ended situation was always going to get to me at some point. So when they said potentially Easter, once they've been able to roll out vaccines and do lots of testing, and once we've gone through the winter, of course, that was a glimmer of light for me personally. It did perk me up a little bit. It did put me in a better frame of mind over the whole thing, particularly, like I say, when I felt probably the worst I had, whilst I was absolutely fine. It put me in that better frame of mind still. But in response to Davna's question, Davna actually used the thing she's looking forward to most is getting over to visit her family in Ireland. She says she normally goes 4 times a year. She's really missing her sister and the rest of her family, and she'd love to sort of just hop on a plane and go back and do all the things that she's used to doing so often. Of course, she's not been able to do that, and that's a big thing, isn't it? Family's a big thing. I think that's the thing for me as well. I was due to. I remember back to the start of the lockdown, I was due to have a party for my birthday. It seems a long, long time ago now. And we always said that we're going to do it at the end of whenever we get out of the situation. We'll still have that get together. not necessarily to celebrate my milestone birthday, but just a good reason to get together, and even more so with what's happened in the last year. At that point, we never imagined it would go on this long. So I think when those restrictions are finally gone, an amazing occasion will be like a get together, a mass get together, which we can all sort of try to put things behind us and act as we normally would, enjoy each other's company and have a good knees up in the process. So that's something I'm looking forward to. Of course, I mention it quite a lot. Absolutely can't wait to get back to football. There's tier 1 and 2 now. People can start going back into stadiums, and whilst I still think it's a long way off locally in Nottingham, that's something I'm really looking forward to. Again, I've mentioned in the past, I feel the way football is, the tribal sort of nature of it, when we do get back to it, it's going to be quite emotional, it's going to be quite raw, and it's going to be amazing to be part of the sort of big crowds and sort of passionate crowds, and something I really can't wait for. So they're the things really, that sort of get together, which is going to include all my family and friends. And if I can get those together, as quick as I can after that, would be fantastic. Because at the moment, like I said before, we're just restricted and almost having to prioritise who we see and when we see them and who's available. So that and the football, and one thing I am looking forward to, and I'm not bothered about saying it now, I'm not much of a hugger. I will hug people, but I'm not one to really show my emotion. But it is something that we really miss with certain people. You're just used to meeting them and kind of hugging them, even if it's briefly. But it's one of those things you just want to sort of forget everything, and sometimes a good squeeze is the way forward, and with people who want that, of course, it's going to create concern and worry after. Some people's nature is that, so with the right people, looking forward to a good hug, and all those things as well. So there's lots to look forward to. We're talking about things almost hypothetically, but don't be put off. There's still lots of things we can do. Still enjoying sort of getting out there, getting active. Whilst I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, I know how important that is, and for keeping me sort of physically strong and mentally strong, and when the reason I do daily is to stay sort of mentally strong and help others who might be feeling the situation, just to be honest and relatable. So it's important to remember all those good things and work off them, and that's all we try and do here, is work off the good things. It's good to look forward to things as well. All those things I mentioned, whilst I could easily get myself into a slump and get upset about not having them, sometimes that anticipation's worth it. The wait can be worth it. So it's really important to think, to understand how much you miss certain things. Perhaps if this is going to show one thing, is that we're not going to take things for granted in ways we may have in the past. We might all be a little bit guilty of taking family and situations and get-togethers, going out to the pub, all these things for granted. So it's not a bad feeling to look forward to something. So keep your eyes on the prize, keep going, keep doing the things you have to, and I can assure you, however long it is, I can't assure you when, but however long it is, it will get better. So hopefully that answers your question, Davna. Thanks for that. Question 3. Good question, this from Kirsty. She's basically one of her family members shown concern when she posted one of her runs on social media. So she's basically asked, how do I reassure family members that running solo as a female is safe, acceptable during the winter? What I would say about this, the first thing I'd sort of say about this, Kirsty, is we can't let things we can't control sort of define us. I say that all the time, but we can't expect the worst of the situation. Of course, it's safer to run in the day. Of course, it's better to run with other people. Lockdown and winter coming along has kind of nipped both of those in the bud a little bit. But we can't expect the worst. We've got to be positive about what we're doing. We should be able to go out in the dark and run and feel safe. And I know we live in a world, I'm not naive, we live in a world that's not always that straightforward, but we can't expect the worst, can we? As long as you take, there's measures you can take, to sort of make it that little bit better for yourself. Of course, the first thing is to wear bright clothing, wear a headlight, for personal safety, so people can see you, so people know you're about. And whilst I think their concern might be about people seeing you and knowing you're about, it's just about sometimes running in built-up areas, running where it's particularly well lit, running where it's well populated. Of course, not going out into the countryside. I'm a little bit guilty at times of wandering off on a walk, and whilst I'm pretty confident and not too fussed about those kind of things, I'll come back and it's dark and I'll sort of contemplate how the situation could be. So it's just about taking certain steps, isn't it? Like I say, first of all, your own personal health and safety, running in built-up areas, or taking part in whichever activity you're doing in built-up areas, well-lit areas, populated areas, letting somebody know where you're going. There's also, through recording apps, you can now sort of create beacons. I know Strava in particular, Kay's out at the moment, and I get a text message that says that she's started a run and where she's gone. So if there's any problems there, I can check a sort of last location. So again, hooking somebody up to that might be a great way to reassure people. It's just, there's lots of measures you can take now, just to sort of add that extra layer of protection. And whilst that doesn't guarantee anything, like I said at the start of my answer here, is we've got to try and live in a positive environment, and expect things not to happen. We can't go out there expecting things to happen. Sometimes if you show your vulnerability, if you show how much you're scared of something, it's got a habit of getting the better of you, and potentially people could take advantage. I do know Kirsty in particular is quite fast, so one thing you could say to them, Kirsty, she outruns most men anyway, so that you're quicker than those, basically, so you'd outrun them every day of the week. That would reassure me if you told me, because I know most men wouldn't have a chance of catching you. So, but no, seriously, all those things I've just said, it's just about, if you want to reassure them, it's just about sort of adding those little things in, letting people know when you're doing it, letting people track what you're able to do, and all sorts of things like that. There's lots of measures, and you give me an idea, actually. Perhaps in the next week or so, I might look at one of these. Quite often on a Wednesday, I like to offer sort of 5 tips on this or that, and I might do something about winter running and being safe and things like that. So look out for that. But there's a few things to go with there. So hopefully you can do those, and people won't be so concerned. Of course, I will encourage, keep doing it when you can. If you can get in the light, Kirsty knows as much as anybody. She's particularly keen on health and well-being. Get out in the light. It does so much for us. We need that vitamin D right now, if anything. It's supposed to be something that helps fight off COVID. So getting out in the light is always great, wherever you can. But of course, we all live busy lives. We all have to get out there and use our time effectively. And one of those, if you like doing activities, getting out when it's dark. And that's it, guys. Thanks for the questions today. Really, really appreciate those. As ever, I kind of look up and I've spoke for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden I'm 20 minutes in. So don't want to bore you for too long. What I am going to do is offer you this week's throwback question, which is basically going to be, how have you adapted? Looking back at Kirsty's question, is how have you adapted to sorry, technology's not working there. So yeah, looking back at Kirsty's question, how have you adapted to the situation? The seasonal change, do you know, how was your activity, exercise? How has it been impacted by the darkness, do you know, the situation, the cold, do you know, and being out there, do you know, there's lots of things. We spoke about this sort of periodically at times, do you know, some people are using lunch breaks and things like that. But I'd like to know your ideas, like I say, with the intention of putting something together to offer a bit of advice, more structured advice and tips on how we can really make the most of getting through the winter, the tough months. You know, it gets tough to train, so sometimes we need all the inspiration we can get. We need everybody's ideas. That's what Thursday's about, isn't it? It's just about passing on a few ideas. It's not rocket science. It's not nothing that people don't know. It's just about offering up a few ideas of what we can do to support each other, to encourage, to make sure everybody stays safe, you know, and get the most from doing the things we love. That's what's really important. All of that sort of goes back into every one of those questions there. You know, it's all about looking forward, being prepared, taking action, and listening when we need to. We all need that perfect reminder. And hopefully today's episode has just proved that on a couple of subjects there. What we'll do, I'll just finish just very quickly, because they're like a dog with a bone. Dawn, about Christmas. Relentless with the questions. So basically, Dawn asked when I was putting the Christmas tree up. Got told off for not asking it last week. Don't know why I wouldn't have asked that in the middle of November. But I don't know, to be honest. I've not thought about it too much. Been a bit busy, not feeling great right now. Normally, my mum is absolutely fantastic at putting Christmas trees up. But of course, at the moment, she can't come and do it. So it might be a case of a botched job between me and Kay. So we'll see how that turns out. I'd imagine in the next week or so, December, when Christmas actually is. And Simon basically asked, would I sit and watch a certain film all day? I can't even remember what it is now. Or listen to E17 on loop for the whole of December, something along those lines. Bit bizarre question, but that's Simon. What's wrong with E17? I love that song. Was it 1995? It was Christmas #1. You know, it should be Christmas #1 every year for me. You know, I actually let you into a little secret. I sang it at Works Cabaret evening once. Not that I can sing, and Dawn knows that as well. So yeah, a couple of Christmas related questions there. If you've got any of those, please pop them in. Do you know anything about activity, anything about the situation going on around us, anything about how to get motivated, do you know, all the things we've covered today and much more. Please keep posting those in the comments. Add them to today's video, any of the videos throughout the week, any of the social media. I'll pick those up and I'll sort of do the research, think about those and give you some sort of answer next week. Of course, put that throwback question out there. Are you adapting to the situation? So please answer that as well. For now, I'll get off. I've got a wake up to walk to plan, as ever. No idea where I'm going yet, but hopefully think that through with Kay today. You know, hopefully I'm feeling a little bit better. You know, I'm ready to attack the weekend at the moment. I'm ready for the weekend to come, just to sort of take a few days out. But by the morning, hopefully, I'll be right back on it, right back ready to go. Some fresh air, some real fresh air. You know, I'll be right back on it. For now, guys, thanks a lot. Thanks for all the input. As ever, really appreciate that. Keep watching. Until tomorrow, just doing it.